Hey guys, I just realized we just had some minor connectivity error. So we are just now going re-live because no one could hear us. Anything. Yep.
All right.
Yep. So we're gonna do a reset really quick and do this again. Don't mind us. The reception here is really, really bad. We have like one dot. Let us know if you can hear us. We're going to do a restart. Are you okay with that?
Let's go.
All right, we're restarting. You guys, bear with us. We did an entire intro, and we've been talking for like 12 minutes now, at least. Yeah. Thank you, James, for messaging. He's like, I don't even have you starting this stream.
Oh, well.
Awesome. Right.
By the way, I just went Frank the Tank and can't remember anything I said.
This is awesome. Yeah. I cannot believe that just happened. Yeah. Okay, right. We're going to just jump right in, you all. I have got the CEO here with Horizon 3, Snehal Antani. We are diving into his background. He has a specialist background, similar in the space that I do. He was the CTO for SOCOM. You're working with for JSOC, which is actually, we call it SOCOM, but that's what they always say at least. So let's talk about Horizon 3 and what the services you provide. Let's just jump right back into that, and we'll skip the intro part. Go check him out. Don't want to miss it. But yeah, a little bit about what does Horizon 3 do?
Perfect. So the problem we could solve, I was a CIO at G-Control, I was a CTO at Long, and then I was a CTO at JSON. And the struggle I had was I had no idea I was secure until I breached. By then it was too late. So how do I proactively verify my security controls before the bad guy showed up? I tried doing that with vulnerability scanners, but being vulnerable doesn't mean you're exploitable.
Yep.
Hiring test consultant scale doesn't work. And so what I wanted to do was allow companies, IT admins, network engineers, and non-security people to run self-service pen tests whenever they want and on demand.
So let's talk about the pen test part, because one of the things that that organizations struggle with is, okay, you're going to come in, you're going to do this vulnerability in this pen test, and then you're just going to give me a report and go, all right, you've got all these things, now mitigate. But how are you guys different?
So what's super important is this find, fix, verify loop. So when I was at G Capital, we get a pen test report. We punched in the throat, poked in the eye, and then how bad we are, and then the guys would disappear here. And I'd be left with a PDF that I'd go fix. And when I fixed this, I had no way to retest the problems that actually been resolved. And so you end up with this really find, fix, verify loop. Most of the problems found this year were the same problems found last year. It just doesn't work. What you want to do is run us to find problems. You go fix them. You immediately rerun us to verify the problems have been fixed.
Yeah.
So our customers shift from running one pen test a year to 40 pen tests a month, which is awesome.
And what does that look like for cost for them? Because usually a pen test can range from as little as $3,000 to like $10,000 or $20,000. And if they're doing 40 a month, I mean, that's got to be a lot of money.
So we're an annual subscription, and you can, based on how big your environment is, and you can run as many pen tests as you want in that annual subscription.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like a gym membership.
Yeah.
Some people will go once a year, other people will go 3 times a day.
Horizon 3, real pen test real pen test will include a rescan. That is from Eric Taylor. Okay, so let's talk about a recent breach that you actually were able to create in your environment.
Yeah.
This is intense, you guys.
So this is it was a financial service company. They were a hybrid cloud, so they had an on-prem environment and then AWS. So they ran internal pen test. We started a single machine. And there's no scripts to write, no agents to install. You click a link, you compromise that one machine. At the end of the pen test, everything deletes itself, so there's never anything you've got to maintain. So from that machine, our Node Zero product enumerated the entire network and found 1,000 hosts. It fingerprinted all the host port services, one like an attacker would. And then now that a particular host had ILO running on it, it was able to exploit ILO and dump all of the credentials stored within the ILO environment. From there, it reused those credentials to log in to a Windows box next door. From there, it covered the entire file system and found a passwords file that had the AWS admin credentials in it. Then logged in and was admin in AWS and could have torn down into the entire VPC. The reason why this is amazing is, one, this attack was buried among 2,000 hosts. It would have taken a human or maybe a month to often find it, if we even had the flow. We found it in less than 2 hours amongst a whole bunch of other issues. And not a single security alert was triggered when we did it.
That's right.
Because those security tools aren't designed to work together. And so it's very easy to miss things or not log enough data or not get your EDR configured right. And in addition to taking over admin access of their cloud and as well as getting domain admin internal, we would have done it despite them spending millions of dollars on tools. Because what we have in the industry isn't a tools problem, we have an effectiveness problem. And to improve security effectiveness.
We have plenty of tools. I mean, we could talk about zero trust. The buzzword at RSAC this year is all about zero trust, moving away from tools. But first, I want to talk a bit more about the vulnerability you just talked about. How can organizations protect themselves from this? Because this sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, if an adversary was able to leverage this vulnerability and get into a network, it sounds like they could create mayhem, and there could be catastrophic effects of the organization.
So here's a way to think about it. Attackers don't have to hack in using 0 days like you see in the movies. Mm-hmm. They log in with valid credentials that they found. Back to this attack path, the PILO CVE that we exploited, it's been around for a long time.
Yep.
But it's just a service people overlook. It's oftentimes a service that isn't protected by the EDR or by Splunk or anything else. And so when we exploited that CVE, no alerts generated. After that, everything was a valid login. Offering credentials and logging in and lateral movement, that wasn't going to trigger any of this. Scouring the default passwords file didn't trigger events. Logging in as admin didn't trigger any events. And the struggle, right, is you could have the tools that you could buy. Mm-hmm. If you're not, the attacker isn't actually doing anything nefarious, they're valid logging in. Are you going to catch it?
So we know that this breach is out there. What can organization do to verify if they're vulnerable, if they have this vulnerability on their network? Obviously, contact you.
Yeah, part of that, but it's more than just a vulnerability. It goes back to muscle memory and the strong technology foundation to begin with, which is you have weaker default credentials that be cracked. You've got vulnerabilities that can be exploited. You've got configurations. For instance, that by default, VMware backups aren't encrypted. And it's very easy for admin to not think about it and then click, and now all their VMware files are unencrypted backups. If that happens, an attacker like us will find the backup files, parse the MTD file, and pull out the admin credentials. VMware didn't do anything wrong. It's not a CE, it's a misconfiguration. And so what happens is, I think the industry over-rotated towards vulnerability management, and the attackers adapted away to use misconfigs, dangerous defaults, and credential harvesting. And then you have is this mismatch of lots of being spent in vulnerability management while the attackers are ripping through environments using alternative techniques.
We've seen in the SaaS environment, one of the biggest areas where attacks are getting used through S3, three buckets, because most of them are misconfigured. 90% of them are misconfigured, and adversaries know that, and they're leveraging that misconfiguration, like you're saying. That's crazy. That's like really actually kind of frightens me to know that configuration is out there. Okay, so before we wrap up, what are some things that Horizon is doing in the next 1 to 2 years that you can share with us?
One, let's even back up. So there's a big Atlassian CV that just came out. It's one that's actually very dangerous because it's blind to exploit it. Every publicly facing Atlassian service is vulnerable. But yeah, you could compromise it and pivot internally. But an attacker is going to compromise that environment and pilfer all the user ID, all the internal
like credential stuffing,
and so on. And they're going to use that as part of the reconnaissance process and then come in another way. So that's the part, is that attackers don't have to do you directly. They're going to invest time in doing response so they can come in quietly behind the scenes. So what are we doing? A bunch of interesting things. One is being able to look at pen test results over time. Because now what happens, think of a security scorecard or other tools like that. It's garbage in, garbage out. A human had to fill out a spreadsheet that basically said, here's how secure we are. And then they report on risk, but it's all human input. But if I run a pen test, 40 tests a month as an example, which some of our customers are doing, I can look at those results over time and accurately tell you what are your hotspots, which people are struggling the most, best practices, where do you need to improve, and I can more accurately report on your security posture than anybody else. And that's in addition to being able to find, fix, verify your security weaknesses.
Yeah, let's talk about, speaking of like vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, what are your thoughts on moving from the defense in depth approach and a lot of tools that we're seeing, those layers of tools, to the new buzzword, which has been around for a couple of years, of zero trust? How is that, how can it better us in this posture and create more resiliency? I'd love to talk on that.
So I get fired up about like the buzzword around zero trust, because these are just good security practices that have been around for a long time, which is least privilege access, minimize your blast radius through network segmentation, and so on. You know, who's accessing data from what device at the time, and attribute access. These are common that you should be implementing in the one. So let's call it zero. Well, if you've got a 3-year strategy for zero trust, it's phenomenal on PowerPoint. But what if you get breached tonight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what my boss used to say. So what you're able to do is tactically focus on protecting yourself tonight and making sure your country is secure, while strategically measuring and verifying your zero trust journey. If you run a pen test today and you have a flat network, their network reachability will be significant. We'll be able to hit 1,000, 2,000, or 100,000 hosts. A year from now, after you've applied segmentation, we better not be able to reach the same number. We better only find 20 or 10 who've reduced our ability to
move around freely.
So one of the things customers do is, as they're implementing their zero trust journey, they're continuously running pen tests, verify the effectiveness of that journey. And they're able to verify by looking at things like network reachability, sensitive data exposure, and other results of exploitation, and how zero trust opt-in and stuff.
Wow, this is impressive. Okay, so if anybody that's watching that would want to reach out to you or your organization, what is the best for them to be able to contact you?
So Horizon3.ai, everyone knows why.ai, as that the .com was taken, and I didn't want to spend money on the domain.
AI become the
there you go,
now for a tech company too.
So Horizon3.ai is the website. You'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm usually pretty good about answering when people send me messages. And I do my best to share all of my lessons learned as an executive in banking in the national security world, as my time at Splunk, my time as a founder, my time in security. And so I do my best to share lessons learned and the mistakes I made throughout each of those jobs, and with the hope of sharing with people.
Snehal, this is awesome. So what's going on tonight? Can you share about the event that you're hosting tonight?
Yeah, so at RSA, we could have got like Steve and thrown a big concert or party or something, but instead, we're throwing a veterans charity event at the Marine Memorial. And the idea there, right, is I believe that we should out-execute the Israeli 8200 ecosystem in the security unicorns they produce. The technology, the technical talent, the learn-it-alls that can solve any problem as under pressure to find national security. That is the best security talent in the world. I think we do a terrible job of enabling them to become entrepreneurs of future unicorns. So my big kind of personal mission is, how do we galvanize that community, bring together the venture community, founder community from SOF and national security, and out-execute and generate more unicorns than 8200. Like, that's my personal goal. Part of that is helping veterans effectively transition out of the military. And so tonight, a charity event focused on transitioning, as well as supporting the Special Operations Warrior Foundation that does a phenomenal job taking care of the families of fallen veterans as well, or fallen service members.
And that, it warms my heart.
Yeah. So 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
Marine Memorial Club. And, I'll give a short talk, but we've got General Howell, who's the former JSOC commander, former boss. He'll be doing a talk on the shift towards a wartime mindset for cybersecurity. We've got a number of other good talks. It's mostly just, honestly, a fun working event of people that came from the community that we want to bring together.
And it's my birthday, so that's the event.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So if you guys are here, just stop by the event. If you're a veteran, especially. And then, what is your booth number again?
4402, I think.
4402, Horizon 3. Stop by, say hi. I don't know if you'll catch him. He's got a lot of meetings. I also want to thank all of stayed put. We have a few viewers on LinkedIn. I see 6 on YouTube. I know there's some on LinkedIn. You guys are awesome. Even with all start and the late start and confusion, you all are the best. We're live tomorrow, so be prepared for that. I actually don't remember who we're going with, but go to my LinkedIn. You'll find the calendar there. all are awesome. All right, we are signing out, and I'm doing the transitions now.